didn't commit. Brian Hooper was sentenced to life in 1998, but the key witness recently confessed to the crime. Hooper, now 54, walked out of Stillwater Prison to reunite with his children. And rapper Young Thug is apologizing to girlfriend Mariah the Scientist after leaked jail calls revealed he was unfaithful. The private conversations, now public, sparked social media buzz. Thug posted on X saying he's sorry and willing to do anything to make the relationship work. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Join New Schools for New Orleans, All-State Sugar Bowl, and Integer New Orleans in recognizing and celebrating the Teachers of the Year at our 4th annual New Orleans Excellence in Teaching Awards Gala. The gala will take place Saturday, November 1st at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. This year's gala will feature New Orleans legend DJ Jubilee. Don't miss out on this intimate celebration supporting our New Orleans public school teachers. Tickets can be purchased on our website, newschoolsforneworleans.org.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Here to hear you.
All righty now, we are here to hear you, which means you're hearing our voices, but we would like to hear yours. This is your talk radio station, your community station, WBOK 1230 AM, and the talk line is 504-582-9422, 504-582-9422. Oh, somebody in the back missed it? 504-582-9422. I hope you got it. Yep, you can give a ring. Let us know what's on your mind. Tell us how the weather is over in your neighborhood. Right. You can tell us if you got a birthday or anniversary. You can tell us that you got an event coming up. But try to do it within the segments that we have identified. So, for instance, coming up in this hour, we're going to have Samantha Cook, who is the communications coordinator for the Water Collaborative of Greater New Orleans. And that's going to be a good and important conversation because, after all, we are a water community. We might not like to think about it like that, but with so much of the city below sea level and almost any direction you drive from any part of the city within 15, 20 minutes, without a major hurricane, without a major thunderstorm, we are looking at dealing with or within a matter of yards from water. And so as one of our campaign candidates like to say, we have to learn to live with the water. So Samantha's going to talk to us about how the public views natural disasters like Hurricane Katrina and other storms, and climate preparedness. And she's going to share with us some polling that they've done, which will be fascinating to see what they have. And I know we're just, still kind of recovering from the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. But one of the things that Hurricane Katrina 20th anniversary reminded us is we are still susceptible to major, major storms and hurricanes, and we have to take action.
When you look at Hurricane Katrina, we were the guinea pig for the world because there's never had anything of that magnitude strike a major city in that capacity ever before. And it basically stressed all the resources of the city and local governments, the federal governments, and individuals. And we have made strides that have helped millions and millions of people throughout the world because of the things that we did during Hurricane Katrina. As these documentaries had shown, and looking at it in a different lens 20 years later, we had an outstanding response under the circumstances. You look at a major city being inundated with water over 80% with no communication system, no roadways that are passable, populations of thousands and thousands of people enclosed into one facility, such as the Superdome, or into a long facility, such as the convention center. And we saved lives. We fed the hungry. We worked and healed the sick. We were very, very responsive in a way that we did not realize how good a job we did until after we just looked at it from a lens that wasn't as close to the event. When you look at it 20 years later, and you think about all the things that could have happened that didn't happen. There were mistakes made. Obviously, there were mistakes on all levels. But when you look at a totality of the circumstances, we did a pretty good job, as a city, and as a police department, and fire department, and as well as multiple agencies. So we look at Katrina as something that was an anomaly, for lack of a better term, in the annals of society of the United States as well as the world. The only thing I can make an analogous to is maybe a tsunami or something like that, something that devastating that happens that quickly, that destroys that much. But tsunamis usually don't hit highly populated areas like a major city. They'll hit areas that have,
You got to be along the coastline.
well, coastline, and then you're in the island. But this literally inundated the entire city from one end to the other, and something of that magnitude, as far as I know of, has never been recorded in the history and the annals of humankind. When you have 80% of a major city underwater, that's unheard of. And I think National Geographic and Netflix, especially Spike Lee's documentary, it was incredible. He captured the moments, he captured the time, he captured everything, and he basically laid to rest a lot of rumors that were out there that just weren't true. About our lack of compassion. I mean, he showed police officers and firemen in that water saving lives. He showed how we were giving care to people that were hurt. So, there were a few faux pas that happened that got a lot of attention, but for the most part, we were very responsive to the needs of the community. And I think that was shown in the documentaries, So I'm very grateful. And so hopefully, the lessons that we learned through Katrina will benefit, not just the city of New Orleans, but the entire United States and really the entire world.
Yeah. So Samantha Cook's going to have more of a deeper dive for us. Talk about what they have found from their public polling, and in this show this morning, we're also going to talk about the big debate. The Urban League of Louisiana has hosted a series of 8 candidate debates, which is amazing. There are organizations that have hosted multiple debates, but I don't think anybody's hosted 8 of them, especially at this level with high quality production and live streaming and books and pamphlets and lighting. And I mean, it was a top-notch set of debates. And this was the finale. This was the mayoral candidates, and this debate was held at Xavier University's Convocation Center. They actually were going to be in a different space, but had to move it to the Convocation Center. For those of you who are familiar, if you don't know Convocation Center, think of basketball court right off the corner there. And there were a lot of people there. And so we're going to talk some more about that a little later in the show. But let me just tell you that there were at least hundreds and hundreds of people at that debate. And one of the things that was different, there have been other debates or forums with all or most of the candidates. But this, I think, was the biggest stage before the biggest audience for all of the candidates. So there have been other forums or other debates where 3 or 4 of the candidates have appeared and answered questions. But for that many candidates on the stage at the same time, it was a lot. it was good to see, good to hear some different answers. They really mixed it up a bit. We're going to hear some more about that a little later in the show. But meanwhile, let's tell you about some other things that are going on. For instance, we have the latest development with our mayor, Mayor Latoya Cantrell, and that is the mayor's first federal court appearance is scheduled for today, and she's expected to plead not guilty on charges of conspiracy, wire fraud, and obstruction of justice. This is after a multi-year federal investigation, and that's reported by Joni Hess from Times-Picayune. And the feds have been looking at a number of things, as we know from news coverage over the last couple of years or so, but these specific charges relate to trips to Scotland and other places that were where the mayor was accompanied by bodyguard, the right term?
Well, security.
Security. And that was between 2021 and 2024. So this case will go before U.S. Magistrate Judge Karen Wells Roby at 2 p.m. this afternoon. Right. So certainly expect that later today there will be cameras and there will be reports, but I do not expect the mayor to pull out a podium in front of the courthouse and give a news conference. Do not expect that. If I were her defense attorneys, I would, even if she wanted to do it, I would say, please do not do this because we need to work on your defense. But the so that's coming up later today as another development in our city's news cycle. I just want to make you aware of that so that you can be on the lookout for whatever coverage there might be this afternoon.
Yeah, well, when you look at somebody that's involved in executive security, to a mayor, that's a very sacred responsibility. I was Mayor Sidney Bartholomew's executive security guy. Mm-hmm. So, you spend a lot of time with the individual. So when you look at something of this magnitude and it's being looked at from a actual criminal standpoint about some irregularities, everybody's allowed their day in court, and when you look at the mayor as a public figure, she represents the city, but now she's representing herself as an individual. So I don't expect her to make any type of statement because that's usually the stance that people take when they're being, processed and adjudicated through allegations. So I think, like you said, if you're looking for a speech, I don't think that's going to happen.
Nope. And with the unfortunate death of Brian Vasquez, the 12-year-old nonverbal boy from New Orleans East, who was found in the a lagoon over that way. I'm sure. I don't think that lagoon has a name over that way.
No, it doesn't.
But the boy was escaped from home in the East on August 14th and died in some type of alligator encounter and suffered serious trauma and died. The alligator was an alligator was trapped in that lagoon area near Sevres. I always forget how to say that street name, Sevres. I think it's Sevres.
Sevres.
Yeah. So, but this alligator, there were traps set to try to catch alligators as a part of the search and investigation. And unfortunately, this particular alligator has human remains. It's difficult to even think about.
Yes,
human remains inside the alligator's body. The alligator was initially trapped in Lacombe, and so they're conducting their equivalent of an autopsy. It's on the animal. It's a necropsy. So that's an unfortunate development. It seems like every day there's something new related to that, and nothing that we really like to hear. The mother, meanwhile, is charged with counts of negligent homicide and second-degree cruelty to juveniles, plural.
Right.
And that's because has had this son Brian, but she has other children as well. But that's happening in the news, and there'll be more developments as they get results from checking out this alligator and continuing the investigation.
Right. They have to do their due diligence, because when you bring it to a court, for adjudication, it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt, and that's why you have to take these painstaking measures to make sure all T's are crossed, all I's are dotted, and make sure her constitutional rights were not violated. Because one thing that the public don't understand sometimes, how we can catch people with property or with contraband and it gets thrown out in court. Well, if you do not attain it within the constitutionality of the law, that is because it's called fruit of the poisonous tree. It's like it didn't exist. So they basically take it out of court. And it's not able to be presented to the jury. So therefore, you have to make sure that the due diligence is taking place and that everything, as it relates to this trial in this case, is being done directly by the book. Because this is a high profile case. So it's going to be on TV every day.
Yeah.
And when you look at it from that perspective, if you have to get not a preponderance of evidence, which is for civil, but beyond a reasonable doubt. We've seen too many high profile cases that the slightest little faux pas caused an acquittal. I always, when they said the glove don't fit, you must acquit.
Mm-hmm.
That put that reasonable doubt in the mind of the jury, and O.J. Simpson was acquitted. Had that faux pas not happened, who knows what the determination would have been. So when you're looking at these high profile trials, you have to make sure that everything is done within the law and everything is done within the constitutionality of the rights of the individual, because our whole criminal justice system is predicated on that, the rights of the individual.
Wow. Well, also in the news, Amazon is in the marketplace and in a big way. So same-day delivery site in Elmwood has opened up. It's a 150,000 square foot facility. They're looking to make a major impact in this area. They have competition, of course, with the U.S. Post Office and other delivery services. But this is intentionally named a same-day delivery. There are other parts of the country that have this. So basically, if you order in the morning, they can get it to you by later in the morning or that afternoon or that evening, depending on what you order and where it is and all that kind of thing. So, but to do that, they have to have strategically located centers where they can do that package receiving and quick turnaround to get it out. And so they already got, I think, about 80 jobs or so. But one of the best pieces of news for our listeners is they're still hiring.
That's right.
They are still hiring. So they've got some more jobs over there. Anybody interested in taking an Amazon job? And, it's not all delivery jobs. There are a number of different types of jobs. But that is definitely something that some of you all might be interested in, or maybe you know somebody who's been around your house for a little too long without going anywhere, and maybe they need to have a drive over to Amazon, or at least go online and check out the jobs over there. We're going to be coming up on a break momentarily. I want to remind you that we have Samantha Cook, Communications Coordinator from the Water Collaborative of Greater New Orleans, coming up soon. And we're also going to be talking some more about the historic mayoral debate. I'm using the word historic. Yes, I am. Yes, there have been mayoral debates, but I'm using historic because it's the culmination of a series of 8 debates. And that's something I don't believe that we've seen. So we'll talk some more about that a little bit later on. You're listening to WBOK 1230 AM. You are hearing our voices, but we want to hear yours. The talk line is 504-582-9422, 504-582-9422. Give us a ring. Let us know what's on your mind, what's on your heart, or if you got a question. We don't know that we'll be giving you an answer, but we'll say something that responds to your question in some way. 504-582-9422. You're listening to WBOK 1230 AM. What New Orleans is talking about all day long.
Good morning and happy Tuesday. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News, and here's a look at
This
today's
is the Bloomberg
headlines.
Black Business Beat, brought to you by Lowe's. Rapper Jadakiss has a line of coffees called Kiss Cafe Coffee, and he's working on the brand with his family. His father and son are both involved. Jadakiss says that entering the coffee space with his family gives him an opportunity to defy some stereotypes.
Rappers get stereotyped or put in a box. They mostly do liquor brands or, different endorsements like that. Like my dad likes to say, I have skin in the game as far as coffee goes.
Jadakiss speaking to Bloomberg alongside his father, Bob Phillips, who talked about his extensive coffee background.
I work for some of the largest coffee players in the country. I was employed by General Foods, Maxwell House. A lot of years is where I got my start.
The Phillips family has big plans for the brand. They want to expand their line of coffee to include some more premium blends. I'm Bloomberg's Justin Milliner on the Black Business Beat.
Lowe's knows you've got a job to do, and we help get it done. With the MyLowe's Pro Rewards program, eligible members save more with volume discounts on qualifying orders through a quote of $2,000 or more. Join for free today. Lowe's, we help, you save. Offer can't be combined with any other discount, contract, and/or special pricing. Exclusions, more terms, and restrictions apply. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
With Fidelity Wealth Management, a dedicated advisor gets to know you and your goals to build a comprehensive plan to help grow and protect your wealth. Backed by a team of specialists, they'll analyze all your accounts, even the ones they don't manage, to keep an eye on taxes and provide proactive portfolio insights that can help you unlock your wealth's full potential. Learn more at fidelity.com/wealth. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC. Member NYSE SIPC.
A message from the community scientist. Do you live or work in St. James, St. John, St. Charles, Ascension, Calcasieu, Baton Rouge, or St. Bernard Parish? You may be exposed to harmful chemicals like phthalates, BPA, and flame retardants found in everyday products but linked to serious health risks. That's why the Community Scientist, a program of Rise St. James, brings you clear, science-based facts that protect your health and our environment. Stay informed, stay empowered. Visit risestjames.org today.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Good morning show. For those of you who have been listening, we appreciate your opportunity, taking some of your time this day to tune in to WBOK 1230 AM. And that's whether you're listening on AM radio, on the internet, or on Facebook Live. The talk line is 504-582-9422, 504-582-9422. And I am Will Sutton, and with me is Chief Eddie Coppice.
I'm here to hear you.
And it is 7:27. If you got somewhere to be at 7:30, I hope it's just alongside your bed so you can get to your laptop, your computer, your desktop, whatever, and make sure that you can at least pretend that you're at work, at least check in or something. But otherwise, if you got to be somewhere for 8, you might have a little bit of time. Looks like traffic is doing okay out there. However, there was a 2-alarm fire on East Carrollton area. That was the 1500 block of South Carrollton Avenue. So if you're anywhere in that neighborhood, just watch out for traffic and allow the firefighters and the police to do the things that they do. Apparently, the house caught on fire earlier this morning, like 4 a.m., and looks like it's under control. But when a fire is determined to be under control, that doesn't mean everything is safe.
Exactly, because, I learned from Fire Chief Charles Parent that there's a lot of hot spots in those fires that they have to extinguish to make sure it doesn't reignite. So when you look at a fire, when you see the initial black smoke and you see the flames and then you see it extinguished, it's not a safe environment until it's actually dismantled and disarmed. And when they say firefighting, they really mean fighting. I mean, they're going in there with axes. They're going all kind of equipment. It's
a very physical job.
Very physical job. I mean, these guys are drenched with sweat.
So often people want to think about firefighters just at the firehouse, laying around watching TV and taking naps and everything. Right. Well, let me see you engage in some 2-alarm, 3-alarm, 4-alarm fire.
Yeah. I think modern technology has brought to the forefront all those superannuated and obsolete misconceptions about the fire department. Because our fire department are a first-class, highly skilled, highly technical unit that has saved millions and millions of dollars worth of property, but more importantly, numerous lives, and we have like a healthy rivalry with the fire department and the police department, but we have so much respect for each other because our jobs depend on each other. And we always used to laugh. I was on the police weightlifting team, and we had that tug of war with the fire department, and we were in the gym working out, and they were drinking 6-packs, and we was on TV on WDSU for they had that national competition. They pulled us over the line like 6 seconds. I mean, so we were saying maybe we need to reevaluate our training methods. So, they might not look like they're in shape sometimes, but those guys are strong. I'm telling you, they have that country strength from picking up that heavy equipment and stuff all day long. So I said, we are very fortunate and blessed. And the guy that's leading the fire department now, Roman Nelson. I mean, we couldn't ask for a better leader. And then he's a young guy that's very experienced, and he's really taking the department to an even greater level. So we blessed.
All right. So be careful if you're anywhere in around the 1500 block of South Carrollton, where there's been a house fire this morning. Be careful to avoid that area and let the firefighters and the police do their respective jobs when it comes to taking care of that situation. Meanwhile, we've got a number of other things that have happened in the news. And one of those things is, we got all this debate and talk about vaccine policy and government, state government, federal government, and how far you want to go and not telling people what they want to do. And so the latest moves in recent days, weeks, months, is for governments not to mandate vaccines for children. So Florida jumped out there last week with their black health chief, saying, who are we to tell you that you need to do this? And that has caused a ripple even in other Republican or red states, because there are people who are more familiar with the science, the health of it, and there are situations when you have something like a vaccine where a child is being exposed to other children, teachers, support staff at school or at a daycare or a nursery. And so I'm no health expert, but that's kind of the beginning of what we call public health.
Right.
So we're not living in cocoons and living in just one house and you're restricted to a room. And so when we interact with others, you're venturing into the public. And so Florida jumped out there and said they're no longer going to mandate these vaccines for kids. Well, our U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy, who chairs the Senate's Health Committee, said yesterday that that was a bad decision. So here's our Republican senator talking about a Republican state and what they did and saying that that was not a good idea. So we may agree or disagree about Cassidy and his politics on any number of things, but he is a medical doctor. And what he said is that's a bad decision, and within the year, there will be children who are infected and children who die.
You know, when you look at our society, we're in a democratic society. It's not an oligarchy. It's not a dictatorship. It's a democracy. But there's certain responsibilities that go into that democracy that we're in. And utilitarianism is one of the things that's one of the mandates of the democracy, the betterment of the whole. And when you look at the betterment of the whole as it relates to the individualistic rights of the few, if you have someone that's infected and they choose not to get vaccinated and they get infected, and you've done your due diligence as a parent and you send your child to school thinking that the school is going to protect your child from harm, and someone says they're going to send their child to school that's not vaccinated and their child infects the entire classroom, then you have a moral dilemma. You know, we always talk about, you know, I put my teacher's hat on sometimes, you know, Kant's categorical imperative, like universal morality, universal good, you know, and one of the main things under his categorical imperative is that you have a moral obligation to society to do good. And sometimes even at the sacrifice of your individualism, as an individual, you might not want to do that. But if your inaction of doing something causes a ripple and negative effect, it shouldn't be done.
Well, it's interesting you say that, Chief. Here's why. Because the Florida Surgeon General who did this with the aid and support of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said that for Florida to mandate these vaccines for children is immoral. Wow. His word. Now, immoral. Wait, there's more.
What?
I'm just, immoral, quote unquote, immoral, and he likened that kind of action by a state government to slavery.
Wow, that's stretching it to the umpteenth level. That's stretching it to the umpteenth level.
So, in his view, that is the equivalent of infringing on parental rights and bodily autonomy.
Wow.
Now, I don't know about you all, but no child of mine or grandchild of mine has bodily autonomy as long as they are not mature enough, grown enough to even recognize that they have a body, talk about their body,
right,
and talk about what goes into their body and the health and safety of their body. I'm responsible for that.
Exactly.
That is not bodily autonomy for a child. And slavery?
Oh, that's stretching it. You know,
slavery. So essentially, you're saying we're forcing you to. Well, it's a mandate for a reason, for the public good. That's why they call it public health.
Right. And when you look at it from that perspective, you know, a small child doesn't have the mental acuity and faculties to make determinations on some things that's good for them and bad for them. Even in under court of law, the age of culpability is 10 years and older. So you're talking about kids that's under the age of culpability for criminal prosecution, making decisions that's basically going to affect the lives of all their classmates as well as the teachers. So when you look at it from that perspective, you know, we as a society have to take hold sometimes and just a commonsensical approach to things like this, you know. And like I always say, you know, many times when you don't do something, inaction is an action, and actions have consequences.
Well, Senator Cassidy has been a supporter of vaccines. After all, he did practice medicine for 30 years before being elected to his for his public service, and his comparison is this. So keep in mind, folks, this is our Louisiana Republican U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy talking about what the Republican state Surgeon General and Governor Ron DeSantis just did last week in Florida. And he says, why do you tell people who can't drive? Why do we tell people you can't drive while intoxicated?
Wow.
That's an excellent point.
Excellent point.
I mean, that's an excellent point. It's like, no, sure, if you want to drink,
right,
okay, but not while driving.
Right.
That is a mandate.
Right.
That is the law. You can be charged, arrested, charged, go to trial if you need to go that far. But there are a number of things with that, and that is a part of public health. Public health. And the senator went on to say, because you put other people at risk. And so in our society, we have mutual obligation, and our obligation is to, one, take care of ourselves, and two, to take care of others. Close the quote. I don't care, you Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Green Party, or whatever. That sounds like basic common sense to me.
You know, when you take a commonsensical approach, you know, we look at our society, and I always go to Maslow's hierarchy of human needs and motivation. You know, we evolved through that, and we try to get to the end, which is self-actualization. But before we get to that point, you know, we deal with the physical needs. As a little baby, all they're worrying about is eating, sleeping. Then you talk about safety needs, you know. Then you talk about belonging, the family unit. Then you talk about esteem and respect. But there's a whole lot of steps between getting from the point where you deal with the basic human needs to self-actualization. And when you're talking about self-actualizing, that's when you reach your pinnacle. And that's what we hope to achieve. But when you look at the basic needs, survival and safety, this falls right under it. You have a basic need and a basic right to be safe within your environments. And that's what we're always striving for as human beings. And when you're talking about a child has not even self-actualized or coming close to it. They're just the basic needs. And we as a society and as parents, as guardians, have to take the lead with those things. And you make an excellent point that, you know, you have the right to drink, but you don't have the right to drink.
Hey, it's not my point. The senator's point. And I mean, but
it's a good analogy. So, you know, when you look at all these different theories and things, when it comes right down to a commonsensical approach to living, and, you know, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, it doesn't matter. You know, we have to survive and live in this society together. And we have to make some concessions, and we have to come up with things that we just cannot compromise on. And the safety and the rights of individuals are important, but when you look at the safety of the general public, you have to look at the rights of individuals and say, well, you don't have the right to do that, because it'll affect the entire society. Look at COVID. COVID put this world at a standstill. So we see the results of infectious diseases taking over, and it can multiply exponentially very, very quickly. So if we haven't learned our lesson from COVID, we're doomed to repeat it. That's what history is about. That's what history is for.
Wow.
We don't learn from it, we're doomed to repeat it.
So, of course, there's more things going on in the world. It's 7:41 a.m. You got somewhere to be at 7:45. Hope it's around the corner, and I hope you're ready to go. Got your coffee, your drink, your juice, and you're locking the door and on your way. But if it's at 8 o'clock, you got just about 20 minutes, 19 minutes to get wherever you're going. In New Orleans, you can pretty much get somewhere everywhere in about 19 minutes, 20 minutes or so. I know we say 15 to 20, but if you got somewhere to be, and it might not be work. Right. It might be your hair appointment.
Right. But no speeding.
No
speeding.
Absolutely.
Respect those school zones. Get a little ding.
Yep. Watch
Chief,
those
Chief and Will love the kids.
Yeah, right.
Chief and Will love the kids. We don't put the kids in danger.
Yep. Absolutely. And, again, continuing with news, yes, we will be talking about last night's mayoral debate and updating you about that. That's going to be coming up very soon. I did want to bring this up because I know this is of interest to a lot of our listeners. And, first, let me give you the number because I want to make sure that you have the number because I really, really would like to hear from some of you all about this. The talk line is 504-582-9422, 504-582-9422. And so now we're going to roll in and talk about school absenteeism.
Whoa.
That's a biggie.
Real big.
That is a biggie because more than 1 in 5 Louisiana students were chronically absent in the 2024-25 school year. That's actually an improvement.
What? Oh, come on.
That is an improvement from about 1 in 4 students in the previous year, according to state data. And the students are considered chronically absent if they miss 10% or more school days a year. So if little Johnny or Susie is out of school 1 day a week, you add up those days, and then 1 day becomes 2 days, and then 3 days, and it can be for a good reason.
Right.
But we know as kids get older, some of them don't want to be at school and they're absent for other reasons, and then some other types of things happen. Well, my newspaper colleague, Elise Camasino, went to Alexandria where there was the first ever Solutions Summit, where there were a bunch of school superintendents and other education leaders to talk about what they can do about that. They're looking at the state having set a goal of reducing absenteeism by 2% annually. 2%. That's not a big number.
No, not at all.
But with the problem we have, you got to start somewhere. And so, there really is no statewide plan to deal with absenteeism. So this is an effort heading in that direction. And according to State Superintendent of Education, Cade Brumley, there's no one-size-fits-all to correct chronic absenteeism or truancy. But the plan that we have as a state is to help local districts build their plan.
Well,
so what he's saying and not saying, he's saying we don't need a statewide plan. We want to be here as a state education leaders for assistance to help local school districts develop their plan. I'm sure some of y'all have some different perspectives about that. Do you want a statewide absenteeism plan and with set goals, or do you want your local school district to handle that? And then, of course, in Louisiana, with our 64 parishes, we have different types of school districts across this state. So that's a whole another set of things, but it does play into what the chief education guy from the state, Mr. Brumley, is saying.
Well, when we was in community policing back in Desire, Florida, and B.W. Cooper, we took a holistic approach of fighting crime, and the schools were an integral part of our success. What we did, we came up with creative ways to keep kids in school, where we rewarded the kids who didn't miss any days, and we gave them like incentives. We would give them like little gift certificates. You know, I know that sounds crazy, but those kids look forward to those things. If you got an A or a B in conduct, they were incentives. So when you look at it from that perspective, you know, you got to be very, very creative sometimes to keep these kids in school.
Mm-hmm.
And traditional man might not work all the time.
Yep. Well, this summit was hosted by the state Supreme Court.
Okay.
which I think says a lot. So it wasn't a particular truancy case that reached that level, but the state Supreme Court gathered these leaders together to talk about early intervention strategies, best practices for working with families, and how to support students who are struggling with absenteeism. And there were a number of individuals and groups from a variety of different school districts, and they were asked to do some tabletop work and some general session work. And there were at least a dozen from Jefferson Parish. I didn't note any indication of how many people were from Orleans, but I'm sure Orleans was represented there. Anybody who knows anything about that summit sure would appreciate you sharing it with us and all of our listeners. We're going to have to go to break. So we'll be back at the break talking about the news you want to know, should know, might want to know, and more. And upcoming, we'll be talking about the mayoral debate from last night. It was some wonderful moments, so to speak, last night. So the talk line is 504-582-9422. You're listening to WBOK 1230 AM. What New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
That sticky feel continues throughout the day. Highs rise to the upper 80s to low 90s, feeling like the mid-90s. A stray shower is possible, mostly near the coast. A lot of the North Shore, though, will stay on the dry side. Lower humidity returns Thursday, and we enter a long stretch of dry weather. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
Are you passionate about community safety and police accountability? Tune in to The Monitor's Mic, where we talk about oversight, policing, and you. Hosted by the Office of Independent Police Monitor, we're here to shine a light on policing issues that matter. From real-time policing updates to in-depth interviews. Get the facts and stay informed. We're breaking down complex issues, highlighting community voices, and holding people behind the badge accountable. Join us for an informative hour every Friday at noon on WBOK. Your city, your police, your show. The Monitor's Mic.
Hey, New Orleans, look for important changes to your natural gas service. This summer, Delta Utilities takes over for Entergy Gas with a Louisiana-born, Louisiana-based approach to safe, clean, reliable natural gas. No interruptions or rate changes due to the transition, just dependable service and modernized technology to keep you running smoothly. Get to know us at deltautilities.com and stay tuned for more later this summer. Delta Utilities, focused on natural gas, committed to New Orleans.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Will Sutton, and sitting right here with me. I'll let you say your own name this time.
Chief Eddie Thomas.
All righty. So Chief and Will are in the building, in the studio, online for you. And we're here, as the Chief likes to say, to hear you. 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422 is the talk line. That's the phone number. Give us a ring to share what's on your heart, what's on your mind, to ask a question or to get something off your chest. We'd be happy to hear from you. In the next hour, we're going to be talking about the mayoral debate that was hosted by the Urban League of Louisiana last night at Xavier University. There were a lot of people out there, and we're going to be talking about that, and we'll be updating you about that. But one of the things that those of you who are regular listeners know, at show's not going by without us talking about the election. So I delayed that intentionally this morning, but the election is October 11th, and the early voting starts September 27th. So you want to check your registration, check the registration of everybody in your house, and make sure that everybody in your pew at your church, at your neighborhood group, or if you have a group of folks you sit with on the neutral ground, on your porch, then go ahead and ask them if they registered to vote. I'm sure they're talking smack about this one or that one, but what does it matter if they're not registered to vote? So we got Reverend Calhoun on the line. Good morning, Reverend Calhoun.
How you doing, sir?
Good morning, gentlemen, and I trust all is going well this morning.
Yes. Hey, the Lord bless us with another day.
Yes, sir.
And got to learn how to enjoy the day, Doctor.
We're talking to you. It's
Now,
got to be a good day.
just quickly going to this truancy deal.
Yes.
I think you would have more children going to school if we had children going to neighborhood buildings. Let me put it in a nice way. If you got a bus child and a child missed the bus, is that counted as truancy or didn't come or didn't want to come? If children had access to neighborhood buildings, we talk about neighborhood schools and all that, and try to, I think, divert the thought pattern. But if the neighborhood building was accessible to neighborhood children, I think you may have some type of reduction. So I don't know what it's going to take to get the money out of the busing program, but I think that's one solution. The other piece is what we went to last night, Will, and what we saw last night.
Yep, it was good
is
to see
we
you.
have an array of people that's seeking the position of mayor. And I'm not quite sure exactly what the platform is anymore.
Wow.
So I don't know. Maybe you could help me understand what's really driving the candidacies now. Everybody's saying they need change, but that's something that's said at every election, that we want change. But when you got proven leadership, I don't know where we are anymore. Maybe it's somebody can help me understand exactly what we're looking for. I talked with a group of people last night, and my main concern is that Jeff Landry is coming in here to take over the revenue, to control, I should say, the revenue of this city. And I don't see how anybody, at least I don't hear anyone addressing that issue. What's the plan to stop? We already saying that there's going to be a shortfall. There's going to be money coming up short. And if the state now is coming in to take more money out of this city to help run the state or do whatever they want to do with the state, if the city no longer have any access to federal money and that money is going to be controlled by the state like it's done in Mississippi, I don't know. I just don't hear the conversation from the candidates on those issues.
Well,
I know you got a better insight.
Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
know you saying all people, even though the Rams story. Even though the Rams turn purple nights blue.
Yeah, right.
Right, Reverend Calhoun.
All right, Reverend Calhoun.
Don't go there, Reverend Calhoun.
I'm just trying to help you all
If you were
understand what
Catholic,
happened.
we'd have to take you to confession.
All right, but I am concerned about those two issues.
Absolutely. No,
Returning to neighborhood buildings, as well as how do we stop Mr. Landry from coming in here and taking more revenue from this city?
Yeah, and you raised some excellent points. And I don't know the answer to the question about if a kid misses the bus, are they docked as absent? But that's a good question. It'd be great to know the answer to that. I know there are a number of reasons that a student is marked as absent, but I'm not steeped enough in the education world to know the answer to that. But what we do know is when kids
is truancy just a missed day at school? I'm not talking about shooting hooky and all of that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that
No, it's
if it's a missed day at school, is it truancy?
Yeah, but that counts as absenteeism,
Counts
as I
as
understand it.
absenteeism, yeah.
So, Chief.
Yeah, well, truancy is basically an individual who has actually gone to school and leaves the school without authorization, and then they're picked up by the police for being truant because they're not in school at the point in time once they have entered the school. If they never get to the school, then it's an absenteeism, Reverend Calhoun.
Okay,
you got it.
So, yeah.
Now, unless the policy has changed, but I was the chief of the recovery school district in one of my other lives. And that was the definition of actual truancy. Once they actually left the school, once they're on their way to school, or they've gone to the school and left unauthorized. Like if a kid misses the bus on purpose and wandering the streets without authorization and not with the permission of the parents to be at home, then they're looked at as truant. They're brought to the truancy center, and the parents or legal guardian has to come and pick them up. So that's looked at as truancy. If the individual is sick and does not actually attend school and is not on the street and picked up by the police, basically because they're at the age of comfortability where they should not comfortability, but at the age where they should be in school, and they're not in school, then they're brought to the truancy center. So that's the difference.
Okay, so when y'all was running from the police, when y'all was going to saying, "Oh, y'all was actually truant."
Well, we have
if we showed up.
First of all, we didn't have to worry about that because Father Pavlak would have beat us half to death if we wasn't down time. So
that was in the paddle days.
That was the paddle days.
We're not living that legacy anymore, but yeah, that was in the paddle days.
I'm still scared of Father Pavlak, and he dead. So we didn't have to worry about truancy.
Okay, then, gentlemen.
All right. Well,
let me clear up some more of your calls.
Thank you. Well, I do want to. We're gonna have to go to break in a moment, but I do want to address one of the issues you raised, and that is education. You're not hearing much from the candidates on education, and I think that's with good reason because of what is under the purview of a mayor of the city versus the school board. But what I did hear last night, I heard at least two candidates, Eileen Carter and Oliver Thomas, saying that they would create some type of Office of Education to focus on education through the mayor's office, even though there's a school board and a superintendent and all of those things that come with running the district, because they both believe that education is a very important part of making the city viable. So I thought that was interesting that that came up. I mean, it has been mentioned before, but it was interesting that came up at the debate last night. And speaking of the debate, we are going to be talking more about what you and I witnessed at the debate at Xavier University last night, Reverend Calhoun. So we really appreciate you calling in. I hope you'll stay tuned, and I hope our listeners will stay tuned as well. Have a great day.
Do the same time.
All right.
All right. You're listening to WBOK 1230 AM. The talk line is 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422. And after the break, you're going to hear from Daryl Forges, WDSU morning anchor, who was one of the moderators for the historic mayoral debate last night at Xavier University. So we'll be talking about that in just a bit. You're listening to WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
WBOK New Orleans, home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Black House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries warned Republicans they'll regret reopening the January 6th probe.
Donald Trump and House Republicans are now determined to whitewash that day that will always live in infamy.
Jeffries tapped Eric Swalwell to lead Democrats on the new subcommittee, joined by Jasmine Crockett and Jared Moskowitz. The black man seen in a viral Jacksonville, Florida traffic stop video is suing the city and the arresting officer. Will McNeil Jr.'s lawyers also want a DOJ investigation after video showed him punched and dragged from his car during the February stop. And Joe Budden is on a potential witness list in Megan Thee Stallion's upcoming defamation trial. Blogger Milagro Grams faces claims she spread false stories during Tory Lanez 2022 case. The trial begins November 17th. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Join New Schools for New Orleans, All-State Sugar Bowl, and Entergy New Orleans in recognizing and celebrating the Teachers of the Year at our 4th annual New Orleans Excellence in Teaching Awards Gala. The gala will take place Saturday, November 1st at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. This year's gala will feature New Orleans legend DJ Jubilee. Don't miss out on this intimate celebration supporting our New Orleans public school teachers. Tickets can be purchased on our website, newschoolsforneworleans.org.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Good morning, and welcome back to the Good Morning Show on WBOK 1230 AM. You're hearing the voice of Will Sutton, and now you'll hear the voice of
Chief Eddie Combs.
All right, so it's Will and Eddie. We're here to engage with you, provide you with the news and information you want to know, should know. And a part of that is talking about the campaign. There are different campaigns for different candidates running for different offices. The Urban League of Louisiana has hosted a series of 8 debates. 8. There are other organizations that have had a series of debates or forums, but I don't think anybody's had 8 debates where it includes questions of last night's debate, where we saw at least hundreds and hundreds of people. Daryl Forges, WDSU morning anchor, is with us on the line. Good morning.
Good morning, Daryl.
Good morning, guys. Thank y'all for having me today. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for getting up and being online at this hour. I know I think you have an off day today, but normally you'd be at work, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, we didn't end until we were supposed to end at about 9:15, 9:30, but we started a little behind, so we didn't get done until about 10 o'clock. So, and I get up at 2:30 in the morning to anchor the news for the morning, so that wasn't going to work.
Right.
So that wasn't going to work. So we had the day off today, but I had to do a special event this morning, a little bit later this morning. But so far everything is still good this morning though, so we're all good.
Good. Well, I've gone to a number of the Urban League of Louisiana and Partner by the People debates in the last several weeks, but this was by far the biggest one in terms of the number of people in the audience. And, just for starters, how many people do you think were there? I say easily hundreds, but maybe more. What do you think?
I mean, the whole floor of the Convocation Center was packed. So I think there was hundreds of folks that came out. I mean, we're getting down to the nitty gritty, as you guys know. We're just about a month or so away from Election Day on October 11th. And so, a lot of folks looking at polling, there's, of course, the top three according to the polling, but you still have a decent number of undecided folks out there, right? That could have some type of impact potentially. And also, when it comes to polling, you never know. That maybe that group of folks who are still on the fence that might have a big impact on either, having impact on one of the candidates, making sure that it goes into a runoff, or leaning another way. So I think, of course, you had your typical coalition of folks who supported a certain candidate. But from what I saw and from the folks I spoke to before the debate started, you do have some folks who are undecided out there. So you had a lot of folks who wanted to come and hear what these candidates have to say about moving the city forward.
There was a guy sitting behind me who I've never met before, so it's not like, this is a friend or family member. And I talked to a number of people around, as things were getting ready to get going last night. And this guy, who's clearly well-educated and and very attuned to what's going on, told me that he's an undecided voter. So he came to the debate with the idea of narrowing his considerations because he's not decided who to vote for, but he has decided who he will not vote for.
Wow.
Who he will not vote for. So this was an opportunity for him to hear from the candidates he's still considering. Now, he left before I could get him to see if he made up his mind. But that goes to your point of people being undecided. I think sometimes we look at the poll numbers and we see so-and-so has this percentage and this percentage, but sometimes we don't look at that undecided percentage, which can be a significant number of people.
Absolutely, and I'm curious to hear y'all's perspective, because my perspective was trying to make sure we had all 9 candidates get something in, and watching the time and trying to make sure some folks are mentioning folks by name and giving people time to rebuttal and listening to the facts and trying to get a better understanding of who's next in the order. Before I even say anything, Will, I was curious to hear you all's thoughts on the debate and what you felt like. Do you think it was a robust debate? Do you think that the candidates, answered the questions the folks wanted to hear? Kind of, what was your overall thoughts of everything that you saw last night?
Well, I come at this a little differently than you do with your experience last night, and I suspect with the number of people in the audience. At one point, the question from the stage was, "How many of you have been to all 8 debates?" And I think I saw 2 hands out of the hundreds and hundreds of people. My point here is that people are getting more and more engaged as we get closer to the election. And the question was specific to the Urban League by the People debates. It wasn't, have you been to other debates or other forums? So it's not like people in that room haven't been paying attention or going to other activities hosted by the Urban League and its partners. But that says something to me about the level of engagement, because I have been to some of the other debates, and there were, I would say, a 10th to a 15th of the number of people actually in attendance, aside from live stream. And I had the opportunity to moderate one of the debates, the City Council District D. So I've been in that seat as well. So what I'll tell you about last night, I was very, very happy and excited to see so many people show up. Certainly there were people with candidate T-shirts and buttons and pullover shirts and all kinds of apparel, but there were a lot of people who weren't wearing those kinds of things. And I believe a lot of those people were decided about who they were going to vote for, and they're still going to vote for that person. But I think there were a number of people who were deciding between 2 or 3 candidates, and then people like the guy behind me. This guy is like very engaged. And one of the things he told me that struck me is he's heard some of the same things from the candidates. He has things in his head that he wants to hear somebody say. He doesn't want to tell them to say it. He wants to listening. He's continuing to listen to see if they say it. So I think it was a robust debate. I think it was good to have so many candidates there. I think the only one missing was Scurlock, and that's because he didn't respond. But when you have that number of people, it's a different rhythm to the program. So as moderator, it would have flowed differently if you had 3, 4, or 5 versus the number that you have. And then the built-in opportunity for the rebuttal, which hasn't been used at some of the other debates, but has been used, and I've seen it used at other debates, was used multiple times last night.
You know, when you have a multiple number of candidates, you know, the ones that's not the main candidates, they have to do something to separate them from the pack. And sometimes at those debates, they'll say something that's totally different than what everybody else is saying and get the attention of some of the voters. And that could skyrocket them into contention. Case in point, Ray Nagin was polling at 3% when he first got in. And then he took a business approach at these debates, and it resonated with a lot of the electorate. And they basically started buying into what he was saying. And Chief Pennington was extremely popular at the time because he had turned the police department around and done fantastic things. I think
he was the favorite.
He was the favorite at the Police Foundation supporting him. And when they got into those debates and basically Nagin showed his business acumen, and Chief Pennington was a great law enforcement professional, but from a business standpoint, he didn't have any business development plans. You know, from what I remember in the debate, he was talking about crime prevention stuff. He was like one-dimensional. They saw the contrast, and when you look at it from being a mayor, you have to have a very unique skill set. You can't just be one-dimensional. And I think Ray Nagin basically separated himself, and as a result, he became the mayor. So one of the lesser candidates right now is trying to catch that kind of fire. You know, so it's very interesting, very interesting.
Yeah. So the back to the debate, Daryl. I think it was a very robust debate. I think with the number of candidates, obviously it went longer than each of the other debates that I have attended or watched. But that's because you involved more people to have a more small d democratic approach for this particular mayoral debate. How did it feel from the stage?
Well, so what's interesting, first off, is it wasn't supposed to be at a convocation center. It was supposed to be at a smaller venue.
Right.
And then they reached out to me and said, you know what? We think this is going to have a lot more people than we think. So then we moved to the convocation center, and thankfully they made that move because you just saw so many people out there. From my end, my main concern was making sure, you know, things were decent and in order, right? Because you never know once we get down to, you know, the down to the wire with the elections. You never know what these politicians are going to say. You don't know if someone's going to have this moment of desperation and try to say something to a certain candidate, or also dealing with the hundreds of people, but you don't want to, you know, have their reactions to certain things really too involved during the debate. So my main focus was really trying to make sure everything was just moving smoothly. I thought overall, with the amount of candidates we had, trying to give everybody the equal amount of time, I thought it was a great job by the Urban League to get things moving the way they did. You know, my co-moderator, she did an awesome job. I felt like overall we gave everybody an opportunity to show their platform, right? To show their platform, to show the people of New Orleans what you wanted to have for the city moving forward. And I'm glad we had all 9. We know that the polling shows there's a top 3 obviously in this race, but it was good for folks to see who else is available out there when it comes to maybe agreeing with a certain person's plan or whatnot. So I thought it was great. There's a couple questions that I really wanted to put in there that I'm glad we got to fit in there. One of the questions was about when it comes to policing. Of course, when Chief Kirkpatrick was going through her confirmation process, we heard from the candidates at the time, and especially in the council, that they would have chosen Michelle Woodfork, right? That they would have, because she's from here, she understands the city, she understands the culture,
right,
and things like that. And then the fact that I believe in the past couple of weeks, when asked about this, they've said we want to stay with her. So it was very interesting and good to hear their response and their opinions about whether or not they would want to keep the current chief, because there's a lot of folks thinking will the next mayor, if it is the top three in the polling, would they keep her on during their administration, right? That would have a big impact on policing and things like that. So I thought it was great to hear their responses on that.
Yeah, and
also,
one of the things that happened is certainly those three each said yes, but there were no answers from some of the other candidates as well.
And
correct.
And one of the things, keeping Chief Kirkpatrick, we're under this federal consent decree and we're about to get off it. And one of the main reasons we're about to get off this federal consent decree is because she's doing such an outstanding job of making the department come in compliance. When you look at that federal consent decree, the city spends millions and millions of dollars a year being under that. So it's going to be, from an economic standpoint, it would behoove them to keep her, because basically, I think if she gets us off this federal consent decree, like I look at this, it's going to save the city millions of dollars. So that's something the voters need to know.
Daryl, were you surprised when some of the other candidates said no, they would not keep her?
Yes and no. I know that some of the candidates haven't liked Chief Kirkpatrick since the very beginning, and their opinions weren't going to change. So that wasn't a surprise to me. The three candidates, I really wanted to hear their opinions on that, really, to be honest, a few months ago. And so now the fact that they've changed their tune, like you said, they're looking at the numbers. I mean, look at the crime numbers right now in the city of New Orleans. Now, we also have to, give a thank you as well to the interim police chief, Michelle Woodfork, because the crime started going down under her watch as well, right? Yep. So she had an impact on that as well. But I think if you look at the numbers, you look at how they're trying to get, the police department in compliance and things like that, I think, some folks believe it's the right move to keep her on because of what she's doing for the department. So we'll see how it goes after October 11th, and whether or not they're going to keep their promise. But some of the no's, to be honest, to answer your question, Will, it didn't surprise me at all.
Okay. And you said there was another question that you were really glad that you all were able to get in. The one was a question about the NLPD and the police chief. What was the other question you really wanted to get in?
The other one I wanted to talk about was, what was really important for me was just talking about how we couldn't really get too much into it. This is one we couldn't get into that I wish we got into, but we didn't have time. But I really, really want to talk about what do we have out there for our young people, right? Mm-hmm. We have a lot of young people who are going to be voting in this election. And there's talk about, okay, there's certain organizations closing down. There's certain venues closing down that have the Hangout NOLA, for example, that, have an impact on young people. What type of program specifically do you have for young people to help them engage and stay out of trouble, right? And so I really wanted to really hear their plans on that specifically. I know that some of them have done things either on the council, on the state senate level, but specifically, what more do you want to do to help these young people? You all know, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, there's a lot more for our young people to do here in the city of New Orleans. I don't really see that now. I see some organizations doing their best and working hard, but on a consistent day-to-day, on the weekends, outside of school, what do we have out there for our young people to thrive and to give them some motivation? I talked to some young people in a summit that I did a couple of weeks ago, and some of them, are really questioning their beliefs and questioning their faith in city council and the mayor's office and other organizations within the city, because you also saw what happened with how some of these young people were getting jobs in the summer and they weren't getting paid and these other things. And so as a young person working hard, trying to get an honest day's pay, if you see you're not getting paid and it takes 2 to 3 months to get paid and other things, it makes you question the system. It makes you question, does the city really have your back and do they really care about you? And so I do believe that, whoever will become the next mayor of New Orleans is really going to have to find ways to continue to restore the faith in these young people, because a lot of them, unfortunately, have told me, hey, I've come from a family who, will make thousands of dollars, by stealing something and versus trying to make an honest, living, you know what I mean? And so when you see stuff like that, they kind of question whether or not they really have faith in the system and does it truly work for them. So that's one thing I do hope and wish in the future that we can, have a real conversation on is what can we do to restore the faith of these young people and make sure that they stay out of trouble and they have a great way of setting up to succeed for their future as well.
So there were a couple of it before we let you go, because I know you got other things to do and we've got to get to a break. But before we let you go, there were some issues. So, for instance, there was a break that happened, and we lost a lot of people at that point. I'm guessing that had to do with how things were going and the timing, desired timing of the break versus the actual break. And then the other was that people submitted questions, and in previous debates, most of the time they didn't get to all of the questions, but they got to some of the questions, and there didn't seem to be time available for that. What's your take, or what can you tell us about those couple of things?
Yeah, I really wish we could have got to those audience questions. First, what kind of started us off behind the eight ball was we did start late, right? We were supposed to start promptly at 7. Unfortunately, we didn't get started until 7:30, so we're already 30 minutes behind. And when you're, and I've heard from people who've told me, well, we've seen networks with 18 candidates and they can get it done in an hour. But the thing about those debates are, it's a free-for-all, right? It's hard to give people equal amount of time in those debates. So they just let whoever wants to talk, and fight for themselves. We tried to give all 9 candidates equal amount of time to speak for specific topics, right? And so I think, the time management in that was a little tough and a challenge. And I think that and we talked about this in hindsight, so for Urban League, maybe we should have done that break. We should have just kept it going. Maybe shortened maybe a couple of the topics and moved on, because to be honest with you guys, there were like a whole host of other questions we had for specific candidates to answer. But of course we were cut short on time. So I think that's just the nature of the beast, trying to give everyone with this amount of folks in the field an equal amount of time to speak, but it just didn't work out that way. But the break, I mean, I'll tell you right now, I was in the back. I was like, where's Senator Duplessis? Where's Councilmember Helena Moreno? Where's all? Like, we were looking for everybody because we were trying to figure out where they were. So there's a couple of issues on that front. But I do think the Urban League folks recognize that, and they've taken notes for the future. They were trying to be accommodating for the candidates. Say, hey, you've been standing for a little over an hour. We might give you a little break here, but maybe we should just kept it moving, kept pushing, maybe cut a few things short. But I really wish we could have gotten to the audience questions, because there's some really good audience questions that I want to hear the candidates answer as well. But hopefully for the next debate in the future, they can make those adjustments moving forward.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Daryl Forges, morning anchor at WDSU. My brother in the New Orleans Association of Black Journalists. Say that again.
Before I go, I have to tell you, congratulations as well on your New Orleans Association of Black Journalists Award that's going to come up for the brunch, the celebration brunch coming up. A big congratulations to you, sir.
Thank you.
Damn, I didn't know that. That's good information. Look at being modest up in here.
Breaking news, right?
Breaking news. Good job, Darryl.
Thank you, sir. Congratulations, Mr.
Yeah, I'm being honored with a Legacy Award at the annual New Orleans Association of Black Journalists Jazz Brunch. That's Saturday, October 4th. That's going to be at the Cannery at 11 a.m. We'd love to see you all. And I'd love to see you there. You can follow NOABJ1 on Instagram, and you can Google it if you want to find another way to reach out and check in on sponsorship, on tables, or an ad for the program. But we'd love to see your face in the place. And you can come and see me, but believe me, there are some other terrific people who are being recognized, and it'll be a good program. But particularly the up-and-coming journalists, our student journalists, who are being recognized with scholarships as well. So thanks for bringing that to our listeners' attention, Daryl, and we hope that you'll have a blessed day. Take care of the family, man.
Will do, yes, sir. And thank you for what you do for the community for all these years, and also reaching back out to the young people who are trying to, be the next Will Sutton or the next Norman Robinson or the next whomever. So thank you so much for what you do for the community, and looking forward to celebrating you and giving you your flowers. And thanks again for having me on your program, and looking forward to coming back in the future.
All right. Can you help me with learning this or that?
Yes, we can.
Well, Darryl, word on the street, you the next Norman Robinson. I'm just telling you what the street said. I hang out the barbershop. You the next Norman Robinson. So
let me tell you something. The one thing that I have tried to do, and everyone asks me, hey, Derek, you dress well, love your suits. That started when I was 9 years old, watching this black man on TV, looking fire, looking smooth as I don't know what. I'm like, you know what? I'm not able to talk like that man and speak as good as that man and be as clear as that man, but you know what? I'm sure as heck going to dress like him. So Norman is the man, and I look up to him, so I appreciate it. So thank you.
All right. Well, I've run over. I might get a little spanking here, so we're going to have to go. Well, thank you so much, Joe. I look forward to connecting with you again and certainly seeing you on October 4th, if not before.
Yes, sir. Sounds good. God bless. Thank you, guys.
All right. You're listening to WBOK, 1230 a.m., what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is Monica Pierre along with Sally Ann Roberts Daybone, co-host of Your Power is On.
Tune in Sunday mornings from 7 to 8 a.m. for music that feeds the spirit. Get your Sunday on.
Right here on WBOK 1230 a.m. and WBOK1230.com, the station you listen to all day long.
Good morning and happy Wednesday. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News, and here's a look at today's headlines. Happening today, Mayor LaToya Cantrell will go before a judge to enter a plea following her historic indictment last month. That indictment alleges that in 2021, Cantrell and her former bodyguard, Jeffrey Vappy, had a personal, intimate relationship and hid that relationship to maximize their time together. They were accused of engaging in personal activities while Vappy was paid to be on her security detail. Vappy will be arraigned on Friday. Then the New Orleans Fire Department is working a scene on South Carrollton Avenue near Jeanette Street. That fire broke out early this morning and was still actively burning as of 6 a.m. Officials on scene tell WDSU that the home was not legally occupied. There's no word on a cause or if any other homes have been impacted. We'll have updates throughout the day on WDSU. And finally, the Battle of the Badges is happening tomorrow right outside of WDSU. It is a friendly competition between fire, police, and other emergency responders to see which department can donate the most blood. You can get involved too, donating and choosing which agency you want to give your points to. But win or lose, it's all about benefiting our local blood banks. That competition goes from 5 a.m. to 3 p.m. tomorrow in the WDSU parking lot. That's along Howard Avenue. And that's a look at today's headlines. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU. Have a great day.
Tired of the impersonal, one-size-fit-all style of banking? You deserve a bank that delivers exceptional service and personalized attention to your needs. That's the Home Bank Standard. Since 1908, Home Bank has been a trusted financial partner for businesses and families because we go the extra mile to help you reach your goals. See for yourself why Home Bank is good for business, good for life. Stop by any New Orleans area location or find out more at home24bank.com. Home Bank, member FDIC.
Hello, I'm Gary Clark. Please tune in to Dr. Clark 101, The Living Classroom, which is broadcasted weekly every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. on WBOK 1230 a.m. on your dial. And as always, it's been a pleasure.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Good morning, and welcome back to the Good Morning Show on WBOK 1230 AM on your AM dial. You can catch us on the internet via the website and listen worldwide and you can listen worldwide unless some country or this country decides that you can't get access to Facebook Live anymore. But you can listen to us and watch us, see us in the studio on Facebook Live. Tees full of people.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of people watching. My good friend Derek Frick is a police officer that was shot, and I mean he is a hero, and I love him like a little brother, and he watches faithfully.
Yeah,
so,
very good. Yeah.
So we paying attention. Who's watching?
Yeah. We're paying attention. We love it when you all are staying tuned. I love to hear from any of you who were at the Xavier University mayoral debate with the Urban League of Louisiana, the By the People debate. There were hundreds and hundreds of people in that large convocation center on the basketball court, and there's no way some of you all weren't there. I know some of you all were there. The talk line is 504-582-9422, 504-582-9422. I did write a column in the Times-Picayune. It's in the Times-Picayune today, and it's on NOLA.com. It was about events like this. So it's about the events and forums, and the key point of my piece is to get people to realize that you can pay attention to the campaign in a number of different ways, but there's nothing like going there in person and catching up. And listen is one thing. Watching is another thing. You can see some different things with the body language. So the editors put the headline on my column that says, "Love people watching, do the same for New Orleans candidates in fall election." So I'm just going to tell you just a little bit. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read a little bit so you can get a taste. And if you want to see more, you can go to NOLA.com. It's time to candidate people watch. Attend one or more debates, events, and forums, and you don't know what you might see or hear. There have been so many that it can be dizzying. Candidates have been asked to be in 2 or 3 places at the same time. If you go to enough of these events, you'll hear some of the same lines from the same candidates. You will also see candidates adjust their answers based on audience and campaign feedback. Sometimes it has an impact on when they arrive and how. Mayoral candidate Ricky Twiggs wants to end Entergy as it is, make it a public utility that he thinks will lower rates. Sheriff candidate Bob Murray wants to stop jail escapes by putting up an electronic fence around the jail. City Council member J.P. Morrell has asked for votes based on his accomplishments and his strong legislative advocacy. One of his challenges, the Reverend Gregory Manning, has continued to accuse Morrell of being in Entergy's pocket. Morrell calls that hogwash. Assessor candidates Corey Darwin and Cassius Peeler III laughed on stage as incumbent assessor Errol Williams talked about the efficiency and the strength of his staff dealing with parish property during a Friday night debate at the Ashe Cultural Arts Center. And I put in parentheses, yes, I spent my Friday night at a campaign event. Dowden said he would bring assessments to the people with block parties. These are things that are not making news, people. I mean, you're not going to see this on the evening news. You're not going to see this reported in the Times-Picayune or Louisiana Illuminator or Louisiana Weekly or Think 504. I mean, they're little, my point is they're little tidbits that you can get some insights into, who these people are and what things look like, and depending on which of these events you go to. For instance, I also point out that there was a Treme Community Center mayoral event, and there was another one at the Lakefront Airport. At the Treme event, Oliver Thomas walked in, and he could hardly get to his seat because so many people were pressing the flesh and giving him a hug and giving him a kiss and all this attention as he's trying to walk over to his seat. But over at the Lakefront Airport, it was Helena Moreno I mean, a woman couldn't get in 6 feet inside the door beyond the threshold.
I was at that one. I remember that.
Tremendous applause and some standing ovation. She hadn't even done anything except walked in. Yeah. So you could go to one of these events and think, well, clearly this is what's going to happen. But you go to another event and it's like, oh, wow, this group of people responding a bit differently. So my point with the column, if you decide to read it at NOLA.com or pick up a copy, is that all of us can get more engaged, whether you go to these events in person or watch them live stream or watch them via internet. And at the bottom of the column, I have added a couple of other things, including on Wednesday, the Downtown Development District is hosting its 2025 Downtown NOLA Mayoral Forum on Wednesday, September 10th at the Pan African Life Center, and that is going to be moderated by my friend Norman Robinson. So that's going to be happening today. And then Thursday night, the New Orleans Entrepreneurial Support Ecosystem System is hosting a mayoral forum, and that's going to be focused on small business. That will be held at Propeller, which is one of the coalition of organizations that are hosting this particular forum. Registration and networking starts at 6 p.m., and the forum starts at 7 p.m., and my friend Gina Swanson is going to be moderating that program. So that's just a couple. There are many more. I'll probably add a couple more to this list sometime today. But again, I want to bring to your attention the Downtown Development District, Downtown NOLA Mayoral Forum today, and the New Orleans Entrepreneurial Support Ecosystem System program, which is tomorrow at 7 p.m. Networking and registration at 6, and it starts at 7 p.m. at Propeller, 4035 Washington Avenue. So there's some other opportunities, but I added a little levity to the column, but it's really serious business. I want you to know you can participate in this process. Shake a hand, give a hug, give a kiss, ask a question, even ask a challenging question. I'll give you an example. One of these events I went to, I was walking over to a mayoral candidate, trying to get his attention to say hello and to ask one of my own questions. I couldn't get to the candidate. You know why? Because the candidate was talking to a voter, one voter. And the conversation was so engaging that I realized that voter needed that time. And that could be you. That could be you.
You know, I look at this in-person thing. It's analogous to what Pastor Luda said. When you're in church and experiencing it firsthand, and when you're looking at it on TV and just looking at it from the periphery, when you're actually in those debates, the energy is palpable. You know, I've gone to those debates, and I'm telling you that the energy is something that you can't describe sometimes with words. You know, and when you look at the people who are in there, you know the questions that they're asking. You know, you look at some people that look non-assuming, that look as though that, you know, they're not the typical type of person that you would see or think would be at a event. I'm talking about young people who are basically, you know, in their teens. They are at these debates and they are very engaged, and that's very, I guess, encouraging for me, because when you look at the electorate, and you know, and I talk about our viewers and our listeners all the time, that, you know, I think we have the most sagacious and perspicacious listeners in the entire world, because they are engaged and they ask questions when they see me on the streets. I'm sure, Will, you go through the same thing, right, about politics, and I've become much more astute in politics having this position, because people expect you to know, and if they expect me to know as a radio person, you know, they expect the candidates to know. So they're basically educating the candidates, and when these people are there and they're engaging, like Will says, it's incredible just to watch the side conversations. You don't get those on TV. They don't get those on live screen. And I look at the different people that's supporting different Canada clubs. You say because they wear the shirts and the buttons and everything. But there's a lot of people that's undecided. There's a lot of people that's waiting for that person to engage them. And like you said, that one candidate, whoever he or she may be, that was talking to that one person, that's very encouraging because every vote counts. And you have no idea what's going to be the ramifications of that conversation. It may be a person who has 10 or 15 people that they influence. So that one vote may turn into a plethora of votes or scores of votes. So you never know. And then the exact opposite. If you don't take time with that person and dismiss them, then it has the same effect in a negative. Well, he wouldn't even take time to talk to me, or she wouldn't take time to talk to me. So I'm not voting for them. So like you said, it's nothing like being in the arena, and actually seeing it firsthand. So that's a very good observation. That's a very good article too, Will. Good job.
Well, thank you much. Thank you much. Yeah. I hope I've encouraged folks to pay more attention. It's September 11th is a big day that we always remember for unfortunate reason. 24 years ago, when we had the terrorist attacks on the towers in New York, and the crash in Pennsylvania in the Pentagon just outside D.C. in Northern Virginia. But my point in bringing that up is that's a date that so many of us will remember, 9/11, 9/11, 9/11. Well, I want people to remember 10/11. 10/11, Election Day.
Wow.
10/11 in New Orleans. Let's get that in your head. 10/11, 10/11, 10/11. And before that, it's September 27th. So that's 9/27. That's when early voting starts, and it ends on October 4th. But you don't get to have a say if you are not registered to vote. So though in this column I have encouraged you, listeners, readers, everyone, to go and participate and be a part of these programs and these activities. If you're there and you're not registered, you can say all you want, but you're not having the impact that you can have with your one vote. And I have been to enough of these things that I have seen every candidate who was on that stage last night. I've seen each of them have individual conversations with a single voter. Each of them. You can't do that if you are not there. And just because somebody is confirmed as a participant on the stage, it doesn't mean there won't be other people in the audience. Give you the perfect example. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people were at that event last night. We had all of those mayoral candidates on stage. A candidate, Spurlock, was not there on stage. But guess what?
What?
He was in the audience.
What?
Yeah, he was.
Wow.
Yep. And he was talking to people, shaking their hands, talking to them, asking them questions. They asked him questions. Now, how would you know that? Because that's not what came across on the live stream. That's not what happened in any kind of news report. But you would have that opportunity. Even if he's not on your short list, why not talk to somebody who might have a good idea that your candidate might implement?
Did he see why he didn't participate?
He didn't.
Okay.
And I didn't talk to him last night. I know who he is, and I've talked to him before. But it's my understanding that he did not respond by the deadline.
Okay.
Well, so it was not that he wasn't invited.
Right. But
he didn't respond by the deadline.
Well, his staff better handle that because that's very important.
Only a short few days at this point. So I know we're going to have to take a break, and we'll get back to it. So you are listening to the Good Morning Show. My voice belongs to me, Will Sutton. And this voice that you're about to hear belongs to Chief Eddie Compass.
I'm here to hear you.
All right. So you're listening to WBOK, 1230 a.m. The talk line is 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422. Were you at the debate last night? Were you at any of the other Urban League of Louisiana by the People debates over the last several weeks? Were you at the SOS debate or some of the other debates that have been held or forums that have been held? We'd love to hear what you think and what you're thinking at this point. You're listening to WBOK 1230 a.m. What New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
That sticky feel continues throughout the day. Highs rise to the upper 80s to low 90s, feeling like the mid-90s. The stray shower is possible, mostly near the coast. A lot of the North Shore, though, will stay on the dry side. Lower humidity returns Thursday, and we enter a long stretch of dry weather. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
Hey everybody, it's Graylin Bryant Banks
and Kimber White Dupree
from the front porch.
Some combos are too good to miss. Now you can pull up a chair to the front porch anytime.
Just search WBOK Media and subscribe to the Front Porch Podcast.
Download, share, and hit us with a 5-star rating because New Orleans culture deserves to be heard loud and clear.
A message from the community scientist. Do you live or work in St. James, St. John, St. Charles, Ascension, Calcasieu, Baton Rouge, or St. Bernard Parish? You may be exposed to harmful chemicals like phthalates, BPA, and flame retardants found in everyday products but linked to serious health risks. That's why the Community Scientist, a program of Rise St. James, brings you clear, science-based facts that protect your health and our environment. Stay informed, stay empowered. Visit risestjames.org today.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana communities through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, please visit us at www.jazzandheritage.org.
Hey everybody, it's Kimber White Dupree.
And it's Graylin Bryant Banks from the front porch. We're coming up next.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Good morning, and welcome back to the Good Morning Show. You're listening to WBOK, 1230 a.m., part of WBOK Media. And we are glad that you are listening and glad that you're watching if you're on Facebook Live. We're having a good show, and we got a few more minutes before you get to the front porch. But, you know, one of the things that's continuing to happen is the President of the United States, Mr. Donald Trump, is continuing to insist that cities need to get under control because of crime problems, even where they may not exist to the extent that he is saying that they do. That's an issue that came up in last night's debate. So the candidates were asked, essentially, I'm paraphrasing, if this kind of thing continues and we have that kind of thing coming to New Orleans, how would you handle it as mayor? And I don't think this would be a surprise to you. Pretty much most of the candidates said, I'll accept the help as long as they understand the New Orleans Police Department is in charge. I'll accept the help if they understand that they're going to need to be over here and handling with these things, but I don't want them front-facing with my citizens. I'll accept the help, but I don't want them to be brandishing weapons on innocent citizens who aren't doing anything and aren't even suspected of anything. That's my paraphrasing of some of the answers, but that I thought that was a smart thing to say as opposed to don't come, because as you know way better than I do, National Guard and other law enforcement agencies help the New Orleans Police Department every single year, and particularly for major events.
Right. When you look at the federal government, they have resources far greater than that of any city. And when you look at it, you want to utilize those resources to their optimal efficiency. It's according to what you're trying to accomplish. Like I always tell people, 3 things have to happen for a crime. You have to have a motivated offender, you have to have a victim, and absence of guardianship. Well, they want to actually deal with the absence of guardianship by giving more personnel. But if you got the federal funds and you're putting them all into one bucket or one entity, it's not basically, in my opinion, utilizing resources to their optimal efficiency. If they take some of those monies and some of those dollars, instead of putting them into actual personnel and give them to the police department directly, like they did in the 1990s when we implemented community policing, we dealt with the victimization. We educated victims, but more importantly, we basically got with the motivated offenders and unmotivated them to commit crime. We gave them alternatives. We put social programs in place. We put educational programs in place. Mark Morial started a jobs fair in the job coalition to basically get kids who had been in trouble, who had been formerly incarcerated, who had had problems, and basically we turned them into productive citizens. So then they, in fact, get jobs, and then they basically put back into the society by paying taxes, and more importantly, they're not being incarcerated. And it costs $50,000, I think, to incarcerate someone for a year. So it's cost effective if you do the intervention programs as opposed to the enforcement program.
So would you be buoyed by a mayoral candidate saying we don't want any National Guard support?
Well, no, because you need some support, but you don't want that to be exclusively. It's a holistic approach to crime fighting. There's just no one thing that you could do to cut crime. Like I said, 3 things cause crime. But I think we focus on the enforcement aspect. It relates to the absence of guardianship as opposed to the interventions and victimization, educating victims. Case in point, when we were in public housing in 1994, 1995, when we were the national model, the number of arrests went down 60%, but crime went down 26%, and murders went down 73%. So that's an anomaly in law enforcement, but it became the norm for New Orleans. I mean, Mark Morial was so far ahead of his time with his interventions as it relates to community policing. You know, New York did community policing, but not to the level where we did it in New Orleans. We refined it. Like I said, we were the national model. When they got rid of apartheid in South Africa, they sent the South African Police Department to ride with me and take a page out of our book and change their modality of operation in law enforcement.
Yeah.
When they got rid of the caste system, when they were trying to get rid of the caste system in India, the Indian ambassador sent a contingent of an Indian. They spent over a week with me. And they saw how we were engaging the community, how we were talking to kids, how we were starting at the basic level of people interacting with police and building positive relationships. And that's the true key of solving crime. Like I don't look at putting somebody in jail as being a victory.
Right.
Having not to put that person in jail, we have to be very proactive.
Right.
As opposed to reactive.
Yeah, there was some of that discussion at the debate as well, where to invest the money that you have. So there were some good answers to that. One of the things that's happening in Chicago is the anticipation of the nation's third largest city getting an infusion of federal troops or National Guard troops sent into Chicago, since the President of the United States identified Chicago as the next place that he would likely target after Washington, D.C. So one of the things that's happening in Chicago is that there are public school teachers saying they have so many students and parents who are concerned that they want to switch to online learning.
Wow.
Because parents are afraid of sending their kids or taking their kids to school. That's a heck of a thing. Because if a teacher had one or two, you might be able to figure out, okay, what can we do? But some of these teachers are asking for online teaching the whole class. And that hasn't happened here since COVID pandemic times. But, that's one of the things that's happening in Chicago. And another thing that's being reported out of Chicago is that there are more people looking for and searching for and carrying their documents with them. Wedding, marriage certificates, and birth certificates, and passports, and just anything they can grab rather than leave it at home or in a safety deposit box where they might normally take it. They're trying to grab those things and hold on to them to prove who they are and that they belong here, because some of the people, as we know from news reports, are being picked up and they haven't committed any crimes, and they are even citizens. They've never been charged with anything. It's clearly based on how they look or the language they speak, and those are some of the things that are happening in Chicago, that's a shame that people having to live that way. And we definitely don't want that here in New Orleans or in any other U.S. city. I do want to mention one other news story because we're going to have to get out of here soon. But our governor, Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry, has settled a years-long ethics case. So before he became governor, he had ethics charges against him while he was Attorney General. So they've worked out an agreement. So the agreement is that the governor will pay a $900, please listen to the numbers, folks, will agree to pay a $900 fine for failing to disclose complimentary trips from donors and supporters while he was serving as governor and Attorney General. Let me repeat that. $900 fine for complimentary trips, plural, while he was governor and Attorney General. The settlement closes a civil case, including the disclosure of nearly 20 free trips valued at over $13,000. His fine is $900.
Wow.
And the case is closed. Need I say more? Well, just a little something for you to ponder and think about. Justice works in some different ways for some different people, doesn't it? It's a heck of a thing. Well, we've had a great show today, Chief Eddie, and we've heard from Darrell Forges about the mayoral debate, had a good conversation about what happened last night and how people can be engaged. Remember, the election is October 11th. Early voting starts on September 27th, and we want to see you back here by voice or by face or otherwise on WBOK's Good Morning Show at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, Lord willing. You're listening to WBOK, 1230 a.m., what New Orleans is talking about all day long.